What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Guru Crypto Garage. It is Friday, March the 6th. And before I give you a single number tonight, I need to do something that the best drivers in the world do when they make a mistake on the track. They stop, they own it, and they get better. Last night on this show, I said Trump gave Congress a 48-hour ultimatum on the crypto custody bill, or he would force it through. That was wrong. He posted support on Truth Social. That is it. The bill is still stalled in the Senate. Nobody signed anything. Nobody forced anything. That claim made it through our pipeline without a final fact check pass, and it went on air, and it should not have. Here's what I love about this community. One of our viewers saw it, said something, called it straight, not to be difficult, but because they hold this show to a standard. And that is exactly the kind of garage crew that makes this whole thing worth building. When your spotter calls out debris on the track, you do not get mad. You thank them, because that call might just save the race. We have been building our intelligence agents for a long time now. Multiple data sources, multiple verification layers. Last night we skipped one. That is on us completely. We want to bring you alpha, but alpha without integrity is just noise. And noise is not what we do here. Dirty laundry is aired, machine is fixed, crew is back on the wall. Now let us get to work, because today was one of the most important days of this entire market cycle, and most people have absolutely no idea what actually happened under the hood. Last night, I gave you 4 scenarios for this morning's jobs report. I told you under 50,000 jobs with hot wages was the nightmare print, the pure stagflation trap. We did not get that scenario. We got something worse. Negative 92,000 jobs. They expected plus 58,000. That is not a miss. That is not even a blown tire. That is the entire front axle separating from the chassis at highway speed. That is the entire front axle separating from the chassis at highway speed. Unemployment ticked up to 4.4%. And they quietly revised all of 2025 down by 403,000 jobs. The whole road we thought we had driven, we were not even close to where we thought we were. Here is the brutal irony. I told you last night that the nightmare scenario was stagflation, slowing jobs, and hot inflation. This morning, both arrived at the same time in the same driveway. Oil did not come down when the bad jobs number hit. It went up 12.21%. WTI through $90 a barrel. Because the Hormuz closure does not care about American payrolls. The supply shock overrides the demand signal. Oil runs on war premium, not economic fundamentals right now. On the same morning, the labor market cracked open, the energy market broke out to the upside. On the same morning, the labor market cracked open, the energy market broke out to the upside. That combination has a name, stagflation. And it puts the Federal Reserve in an impossible position that I need you to truly understand. The jobs number says cut rates immediately. The oil number says if you cut rates, you pour gasoline on an already burning inflation engine. The Fed is sitting in the pits with 2 completely contradictory sets of data and an FOMC meeting 11 days away. They cannot steer left and right at the same time. So right now, they are doing nothing. And markets hate nothing more than a paralyzed central bank. And markets hate nothing more than a paralyzed central bank. The Dow dropped, the SP dropped, NASDAQ down 1.6%. The VIX Wall Street Sphere Gauge spiked 24% to 29.49. That is knocking on the door of the 30 level that historically signals genuine institutional panic. Bitcoin dropped from where we left it last night to $68,000. Ethereum lost the $2,000 floor. Solana sitting at 84. The 72,000 level I told you last night was the whole game. We did not just fail to hold it. We got pushed back 3 zip codes south of it. Now, before you turn the key and drive away, I need to show you what is happening underneath this car. Now, before you turn the key and drive away, I need to show you what is happening underneath this car, because the engine readings do not match what the body damage looks like. Because the engine readings do not match what the body damage looks like. Here is the part of tonight where I need you to separate the price action from the on-chain data. Because right now they are telling 2 completely different stories, and only one of them has ever been right at a market bottom. Exchange reserves just hit a 7-year low, 2.7 million Bitcoin sitting on exchanges, the lowest since November 2018. Now, here's the part that should stop you cold. During today's sell-off, while prices were falling, 12,400 Bitcoin flowed OUT of exchanges, not in, out. Coins leaving exchanges during a price drop means somebody is buying and immediately moving to cold storage. That is not panic. That is accumulation wearing a disguise. The MVRV ratio is sitting at approximately 1.0 right now. For those new to the garage, MVRV measures the relationship between Bitcoin's market cap and its realized cap. When it hits 1.0, it means the average Bitcoin holder on the planet is sitting at break even. And I need you to hear this clearly. In Bitcoin's entire history, going back to the very beginning, every single time the MVRV has reached this level, it has been near or at a major bottom. Every single time, the market has never sustained a long-term bear market below this level, not once. Long-term holders, the people who have not moved their coins in 6 months or more, are sitting on 72.9% of the entire circulating supply. 14.59 million Bitcoin that have not flinched through a war, a jobs collapse, and the worst macro environment in years. Those are not weak hands. Those are the people who were right in every previous cycle. Stablecoin dry powder on the sidelines just hit $312.9 billion, a record, and it grew by $3.6 billion in the last 7 days. During the sell-off, new capital is arriving at the frontier of this ecosystem in stablecoin form, parked, waiting, ready to deploy. And the fear and greed index closed at 18 today. Extreme fear, the kind of reading that has historically printed within weeks of major recoveries. Here is the contradiction that the institutions see. And retail does not. The ETF flow model, built from 26 months of elasticity data, implies a Bitcoin fair value right now of $94,900 based on institutional accumulation patterns. Spot price is $68,000. That is a 41% discount to what the flow data says this asset should be worth. Either institutional capital is about to reverse hard or price catches up. One of those two things has to happen. Now, let me tell you the one number that decides the next 48 hours for this market, $67,429. There is a 40 times leveraged long position with $33.45 million behind it, sitting with its liquidation trigger right at that level. As I record this, we are less than $800 above it. That position fires and you get a cascade. Stops get hunted below 67,000. We potentially revisit 65,000 before the real buyers step in at scale. That level holds, and the short squeeze setup that has been coiling since this morning is fully fueled and ready to fire. Watch that number this weekend like you watch oil pressure on a track with no service road. 3 events are coming next week that will determine whether the on-chain engine or the macro body wins this argument. And you need to have your position set before they arrive. Wednesday, March 11th, US CPI drops. With oil at $90 and wages still sticky, the market is expecting a hot print. If it comes in hotter than expected, the Fed's hands get tied tighter, rate cut hopes get pushed further out, risk assets take another leg down. If it somehow surprises to the downside, the narrative shifts to cuts coming faster than expected, and you get a relief trade. Friday, March 13th, core PCE. The Fed's preferred inflation gauge, same dynamic. Oil at $90 means this print is likely to show inflation re-accelerating. That is the data point that decides whether the March 18th FOMC meeting produces a cut or a hold. Also on March 13th, mark this date, $4.18 billion in WBT tokens unlocked. 56.55% of the entire circulating supply hitting the market in a single day. If you are holding WBT, that is not a date to watch. That is a date to have already acted before it arrives. Tuesday, March 10th, RAIN token unlock, $338 million to teams and ecosystem. That is supply pressure arriving 3 days before the FOMC and 4 days before core PCE. The calendar is not friendly to altcoins next week. March 17th and 18th FOMC. This is now a live meeting for a rate cut. In a way, it absolutely was not 48 hours ago. The negative 92,000 jobs number changed the calculus, but oil at $90 and wages at 4.8% annually make a cut feel almost reckless. Powell is going to walk into that room with the most complicated dashboard of any Fed chair in decades. And every word of his press conference will move markets. The playbook for the weekend and into next week. Offense, the on-chain setup at 68,000 with MVRV at 1.0, extreme fear, 7-year low exchange reserves, and $312 billion in stablecoin dry powder. This is historically one of the highest quality accumulation signals this asset produces. If your conviction is measured in months, not days, the instruments say you are near the bottom, not necessarily at it, but near it. Defense. No leverage this weekend, zero. The 67,429 liquidation level is live. A hot CPI Wednesday could flush the market again. A weekend military escalation in the Gulf trades in a thin order book where every move gets magnified. The setup for a squeeze is excellent. The setup for a flush is equally excellent. Do not size for the outcome you want. Size for the volatility you know is coming. Pit stop. Ethereum needs to reclaim and close above 2,000 before it deserves fresh attention. It lost that level today, and the ETH to Bitcoin ratio is declining. Solana at 84 is holding a line, but if that goes, the conversation moves fast towards 77. Kraken just received a Federal Reserve master account, the first crypto firm in history to get direct Fedwire access. That is infrastructure. This is not a price trade for today, but it is a structural piece of the legitimacy story that does not get enough credit. The big picture that ties all of this together. Last night I told you TradFi was pricing stagflation and institutional crypto money was pricing the eventual money printer. Today confirmed the trap is real. The negative 92,000 number and $90 oil in the same morning session is the most definitive stagflation print this cycle has produced. The question was never if the trap would spring. The question was always whether you were positioned before the Fed has to respond to it. The on-chain sensors say the smart money is loading. The macro dashboard says the road ahead is rough. Both can be true simultaneously. The only question, as always in this garage, is which timeline you are driving on. MVRV at 1.0, extreme fear at 18, exchange reserves at a 7-year low, $312 billion in dry powder on the sidelines. The cars that get bought at the bottom of the recession are the ones that mint money on the other side. Every single time. This is the intelligence the street does not hand to regular people. This is why you are in this garage instead of watching the news, getting the narrative handed to you. Smash the like button, hit subscribe, hit the bell. Share this tonight with one person who is scared and confused and deserves to understand what is actually happening under the hood. Guru Crypto Garage. Protect your capital. See you Monday night. Engines hot. Safety off. Let it rip.